It was 4 a.m., and I had come to what I thought was the end of a long and emotionally exhausting day. I had just managed to fall asleep when I was abruptly awakened by the sound of pounding on the front door. Still half asleep, I stumbled to my feet and opened the bedroom door. To my surprise, the house was full of police, one of whom was halfway up the stairs shouting, "Sir, do you have a weapon? Let me see your hands," or something like that. It's hard to recall exactly, given I was still half asleep at the time. "What time is it anyway?" 5 a.m., sir." Wow, it's hard to believe it had barely been an hour since my initial encounter with police. "Try to get some sleep, sir," was the last thing I remember the police saying before they left the first time. "Is there anyone else in the house?" "No, officer, just my wife and I." Hoping to preempt having to give yet another drawn-out dissertation, I asked one of the officers if he had a report of the 911 call my wife placed an hour earlier. "Yes, sir. We understand 2 officers were dispatched to your home." I continued to make my way down the stairs into the living room, where my wife was sitting on the couch surrounded by police. Endorphins do a body good like medicine. The trouble was, my pituitary couldn't produce enough of this natural stress fighter fast enough on its own to keep up. Consequently, biking, running, hanging out with friends, taking in a good movie, and spending time in the garden were my lifeline or flotation device, because God knows I was never good at treading water. One only needs to Google the phrase "stress kills" to unlock a plethora of articles and clinical studies attesting to the real-life dangers prolonged stress has on both one's mental and physical well-being. Stress kills isn't merely a cute catchphrase, but a sobering warning I've learned to take quite seriously. I realized I was in a fierce bout with mental illness, and stress had me on the ropes. Eventually, I was urged by family and friends to seek help, as my symptoms of chronic stress were becoming more apparent to those around me. Regular exercise and dietary supplements helped, and an occasional sleeping aid got me through many a restless night, but still overwhelmed by the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. I frequently wrestled with depression and was often taunted by the age-old question, to be or not to be. I would eventually find the encouragement and support I so desperately needed amongst those who genuinely understood my plight, having themselves walked in my shoes. NAMI was a godsend. The local chapter I attended was a combination of family caregivers as well as individuals who themselves were diagnosed with a mental illness or working through a mental health issue, like myself. This group's unique composition provided valuable insight from vantage points and perspectives that I would never have otherwise had the opportunity to consider. I still recall the first night I ventured through the doors, and the group's facilitator shared the challenges she faced in dealing with her own son's mental illness. However, at the time, some of the advice she shared seemed counterintuitive, because I wasn't quite there yet. In other words, I would have to learn the hard way that I could not love my wife well, and no amount of wishful thinking on my part would give her the insight to accept or recognize her need. The truth is, she would have to get to that point on her own. Make no mistake, this process was a long and painful one, but at least now I had some help, and the National Alliance on Mental Illness would prove to be an invaluable resource. It's been said the devil is always in the details, which was most certainly true in our case. Not a member of, nor subject to any medical